call this meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD School Board Candidate Information Session to order at 7 p.m. Board members present are Kim Brady, Cassandra Hatfield, and myself, Sally Derrick. We do not constitute a quorum and may not conduct full business at this meeting. Item number 2 is audience for guests. Do we have any audience for guests signed up? No, we do not. Okay. Number 3 is presentation and information session for individuals who are interested in running for the CFB ISD School Board. This presentation and information session is being presented to educate members of the CFB ISD community who are considering running for the school board. The topics to be covered will include but are not limited to the laws, policies, and requirements related to candidate eligibility, duties and responsibilities of the school board, and general election information. The session will also include the provision of information from 2 school board members regarding their individual experience as sitting board members. Okay, and with that, I will introduce myself. As I am Sally Derrick. I'm the vice president of our school board, and with me tonight is Cassandra Hatfield, our secretary. We are excited. We are here as a result of the board strategic initiatives that we planned together in the fall. And one of our goals was to come together and educate the community about running for school board. So we will get started. The agenda tonight, we are going to review the role of the school board member, review our board operating procedures and where you can find those, talk about board member terms and cumulative voting, board member eligibility and qualifications, resources for potential and new board members from TASB, and required trainings for new school board members, what to expect, and important dates to know. So we have a lot to include, and all of this information will be posted on the district website under the link where you found the information about tonight's meeting. We will have a PDF version of our presentation. And at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Cassandra.
Thank you, Sally. So we just want to make sure everyone understands this presentation is not meant to be an all-encompassing resource guide. We are going to share some of our personal stories and also ensure that you know that all of the resources for tonight can be found from hyperlinks. So you'll see the blue underlined portion where you can find information about on the elections page from the election division and information about filing if you're interested in filing for school board. And also Sally and I are presenting on behalf of ourselves tonight, not on behalf of the board as a whole. So at this time, we have a video we'd like to share with you. This video highlights the role of the school board, and so I'm going to show that, and then Sally is going to share some additional information about our roles and responsibilities.
My name is Rachel, and I'm in the 6th grade. I was invited to go to a school board meeting to get an award, but I didn't know what the school board did. So I asked my grandpa Freddie, since he used to be on the board.
1 second. Let me escape out of here. There we go. Let's try this again.
My name is Rachel, and I'm in the 6th grade. I was invited to go to a school board meeting to get an award, but I didn't know what the school board did. So I asked my grandpa Freddie, since he used to be on the board. He said, well, school boards are kind of like the grandparents of the schools.
They want good things for the students and staff. Even though grandparents aren't always around, we do our best to help you learn and grow. Let me see if I can explain it in another way. Think of the school board team as building a bridge between the community and the schools. They are your voice. Board members listen to parents, community members, school staff, and even the students about their hopes and dreams for their schools. They share these messages with the superintendent and other school leaders, and they advocate for their school district by speaking up for them with other elected officials and within the community. Another important job of the board is to provide direction for the schools. School board members choose a destination for the district. They might like the students to go to Topeka, Kansas, Paris, France, or even Mars. But they don't tell the staff how to get there. They empower the superintendent, staff, and students to choose their path. The board also makes a lot of decisions, like hiring a superintendent. The superintendent is the leader who makes sure the daily operations of the schools run well. The superintendent helps determine the best routes on the map, along with the staff and students. The school board also ensures that resources are in place so that the staff can complete their work and make sure students can reach their destinations. Let's say that the schools want their students to be able to play a musical instrument if they'd like, or fix a car, or understand algebra or other opportunities. The board makes sure that the school district has the money, staff, and materials in the right places at the right time to ensure success. The board and superintendent team help students complete their journey in their local schools and prepare them for the future.
After talking to Grandpa Freddie, I had a much better understanding of what school boards do. They build a bridge so that the community and the schools can communicate, and they set destinations for the schools so that I can reach my goals. The school board looks out for me, just like my grandpa and grandma do.
So as you can see, as trustees, we really focus on governance and oversight for the district, while the administration, their key roles and responsibilities are to carry out the work that the pathways that the board sets forward. Sally?
Okay, so this time we'll talk about the role of a school board member, which Cassandra got into a little bit. And you'll notice in the top right, there is a hyperlink that is available in that PDF. We have hyperlinks to every policy or district website link that we are going to talk about tonight in that presentation so that you can easily reference those after you leave here tonight. So responsibilities can be grouped into different categories, and we're going to talk about each of those a little bit tonight. Adopting goals and priorities and monitoring the success of those. Adopt policies and review for effectiveness. Hire and evaluate the superintendent. Adopt a budget and set the tax rate, and then communicate with the community. So first we're going to go over the make sure this is matching up to mine. Okay, so adopt the goals and priorities and monitor the success. So we have, I'm going to click through this because this it's making me click for each line. So we adopt goals and priorities and monitor the success through multiple documents that the district has, as well as state level initiatives that we must follow. So we do have a long-term strategic plan, which we call Collaborative Vision 2030. I describe this as the roadmap for the district. It's kind of like the map from the video. That tells us where we're going and how we're going to get there. That collaborative vision was built through community input, staff input. We definitely had stakeholder commitment and input to develop that vision, and that is what we are using as that map. We have goals under the collaborative vision, which are optimizing, engaging, and diverse learning, optimize facility safety and security and infrastructure, optimize community engagement, optimize social and emotional health of all students, and then optimize all available resources. So we use that to help guide us in the work that we do and go back to that when we maybe need more direction. We also have the annual plan called the District Improvement Plan. This is built in collaboration with our District Improvement Council, which is a committee that is built from stakeholders in the community as well as staff. That group meets yearly and is appointed yearly. They help to really dig deeper into the data of the district and decide where we really want to be as a district. Those are also built from the local campus level, which is the campus improvement committees. And then we have House Bill 3 goals. So House Bill 3 goals they came out of the 2018 legislative session, and that was a mandate for all school districts to implement in 2019. So we have been following House Bill 3 goals since 2019, which amended the Texas Education Code to include plans that target early childhood literacy, math proficiency, as well as college, career, and military readiness. And so as part of the state mandated legislative priority, House Bill 3, we are doing that work every day to improve the education that we provide to our students. Okay, next is the adopt policies and review for effectiveness. So we have on our district website, all of our policies are listed. Those are accessible to anyone in the community. And this just tells you a little bit about the two buckets of policy that we have. We have legal policies and we have local policies. And just an easy way to remember those is legal policies are policies that reflect the current law and are updated by TASB as the law changes. Those are non-negotiables. Those are given to us by the state and those automatically go into our policy. We have local policies that are directives from the board itself to the school district saying what is to be done. So each district can adopt, update, and re-adopt local policies as needed. And so I pulled examples just to help you to understand. And this is pulled straight from the district website, so anyone can do this. AE is one that has a local and legal policy attached to it. So AE legal is from the state, and it's saying that a board shall adopt a vision statement and comprehensive goal for the district and superintendent, and then says that each district should have a mission on public education. So that's a very broad policy that the state says that we should do. So then you go to AE local, so the local version of the same policy, and that is where we have our mission and vision statements written. Because the state doesn't write those for us, the board writes those. So AE, local, and legal are a great example of both a legal policy and a local policy. There's other types of policies that we do have, and so I pulled another one that would be an example of operational. So we have local policy CW, local, which is the operation, the purpose of naming facilities. And so that's a local policy that the board developed that does not have a legal attachment to it, but it's a local policy that the board came up with. And like I said, all of those are available on our website, and you can toggle through and see on the tabs, it shows you if there's a local and a legal for each policy that you dig into. Next is the board's responsibility is to hire and evaluate the superintendent. So up in the corner, you'll see the hyperlinks for the policies related to the legal status, powers, and duties of the board, as well as the qualifications of a superintendent, and then the superintendent evaluation. So the left-hand column is what we consider the what. So the school board is a corporate body that oversees the management, policy making, planning, and evaluation of the district. So it is the what. The superintendent, the right-hand side, is the implementation and managing of day-to-day operations. That's the how. So those are two completely separate boxes, the what and the how. And so that is the definition of governance. School board is the governing body of the school district. And that can oftentimes be the hardest part as a school board member to understand is the governance side of it. It's not a day-to-day operations. It's the oversight of the district as a whole. Next is adopt the budget and set the tax rate. So the budget is something that we have. Making sure we have all the slides there. Okay. This slide's a great reminder that we have staff that work for the district, and within the district, they do their job, and the finance department is a great example of this. They are the experts in the field of finance. They develop the creation of the budget, the maintenance of the budget. The board's role in that is oversight and not day-to-day operations of the budget. And so that's just important to remember that we do have staff that work for the school district that are the experts in the fields, and the board's role is more of an oversight of that. The tax rate, there are two tax rates that each school district has, and you'll hear a lot about this when in school finance talk. There's the M&O tax rate, which is your maintenance and operations side, and then the other side is your INS, which is your interest and sinking funds. Those are your debt funds, and so your day-to-day operations come out of your M&O money, and your debt payments come out of your INS funds, and the state has very specific guidelines on those, on what can come out of each budget. So sometimes there's questions about, well, isn't there money from, say, a bond that you could use to pay for X, Y, and Z? And that's very much dictated by the state, and it really depends on where that money, what bucket that money is in. Okay. Next is communicating with the community. This is another role of the board. And up in the top, there's another hyperlink for you that talks about the board policy manual. So the role of a school board member is to communicate with the community, which includes parents, community members, staff, local government, and legislators. It's important to remember that the board is making decisions when they are what we call a corporate body as a whole. So it's 7 of us on the dais when we're making decisions. When you're out in the community, you're speaking as an individual and you're not able to represent yourself as the board as a whole. And so that's something that is very important for board members to understand. That's one thing for tonight. We are representing ourselves because we're not sitting up here as a team of 7. We are providing a presentation to you as individuals. But that's something that sometimes is hard for people to understand, that school boards work in the capacity as the greater whole and not as the individual. Okay, I'm going to hand it back over to Cassandra for board operating procedures.
Thank you. So next we're going to talk about the board operating procedures. So Sally's talked about the role of the board and how we work together collaboratively to meet our goals and expectations set forth by those that we're elected by. But we also have to look at how we operate and how we do our business. So the board operating procedures define our best practices for conducting our work and how we conduct our board meetings to make sure that we run them efficiently and effectively. They are reviewed and adopted annually by the board and updated as necessary. So a little bit more about that is this is the content. You can see from the very long list that it is extensive. So this talks about how we navigate ensuring we are in compliance with the Opens Meetings Act while also having that governance mindset at the forefront. So some examples of that are in the communications area. The communications talks about how we speak with each other, ensuring that we are maintaining the Open Meetings Act and not violating that, how we communicate with the superintendent, how we communicate with staff and the community, as well as the media. So these are just guidelines that are put in place to help us be effective and ensure that we all understand the expectations that we as a board have set collaboratively. In addition to that, some other ones are the meetings section. That details the various meetings that we have. And something important in that area is also the committee meetings that we have. So as a board, we collaboratively determined that with the superintendent that we wanted to ensure that committees that are held throughout the community that we are also an ex officio member of so that we have representation from the board. So an example of that is the Student Health Advisory Committee, the Bond Committee, the District Improvement Council. We each serve as a member of that so that if we are ever asked questions, we are able to communicate collaboratively about that and ensure that we have representation of the board at those committees. In addition to that, we also have subcommittees that we have at times where we determine we want to look at a policy or study something at a deeper level, and so we'll have a subcommittee of 3 members come together. Example of that is the naming facilities that Sally referenced. We worked on that last year and developed that policy for the district. The subcommittee really intently worked on that and developed it collaboratively, but then the whole board reviewed it before it went into effect. We also worked collaboratively last year to update our board operating procedures. And so you can see that hyperlink in the corner. You're welcome to go and study that more. As someone who might be interested in serving on the board, I think it's also important to note it has a new board member checklist. This is something else that we developed in the last year of helping to ensure that potential new board members and new board members understand the various expectations of onboarding yourself to the board and understanding and navigating. We think it's really important that a new board member really understands the dynamics of the district and has an opportunity to make sure they're getting engaged at the district. So our terms, so about a third of the body is elected annually. And so we serve 3-year terms, and those are at large, which means we represent the entire district, not geographical areas. This year we have 2 seats up for election, and those terms will be from 2023 to 2026. And typically trustees are sworn in at the June board meeting after the votes have been canvassed for the May election. And again, we're at large, which means we represent the entire district. So next I want to explain a little bit about cumulative voting. So cumulative voting is what we use in our school board elections. So this video that I'm going to show, and hopefully I'll get it right this time, was made in 2016. So when you see this video, it's going to reference the 2016 elections, but the heart of the video really explains what cumulative voting is. So we thought it was still a great representation.
The voting procedure used to elect school board members in the Carrollton-Farmers Branch School District is changing. For the May 7, 2016 election, board members will be elected using cumulative voting. Under cumulative voting, board members will continue to be elected by all voters living in the district. In cumulative voting, you, the voter, can cast as many votes as there are board member seats up for election. You can cast all of your votes for the same candidate, or you can distribute your votes among multiple candidates. Cumulative voting is very flexible. For example, if 4 candidates were running for 3 board member seats, then you, the voter, would have 3 votes to cast. You could cast all 3 of your votes for 1 candidate. You could cast 2 of your votes for 1 candidate, and your 3rd vote for another candidate. Or you could cast all 3 of your votes for 3 different candidates. As you can see, you can use your 3 votes in any combination. You are not required to cast all 3 of your votes, but you cannot cast more than 3 votes. The 3 candidates with the most votes win the election. In CFB ISD, we have 7 trustees that comprise our school board. Each school board member serves a 3-year term. To create continuity on the school board, the terms of trustees are staggered so that school board members come up for election in an annual cycle. In May 2016, 3 seats will be up for election. In May 2017 and May 2018, 2 seats each year will be up for election. So let's recap. For the May 7, 2016 election, 3 board members will be elected using cumulative voting. You can cast your 3 votes for the same candidate, or you can distribute your votes among multiple candidates. Remember, you are not required to cast all 3 of your votes, but you cannot cast more than 3 votes. For more information on school board elections, including early voting dates, times and locations, and voter registration information, visit the district's election information page at www.cfbelections.com.
So CFB Elections is still the website that you can visit. And as we stated, this year there are 2 seats open, which means that each voter will get 2 votes and they can cast their vote in both of their votes in any way. So both votes can go for 1 candidate or they can split their votes across 2 candidates. You also do not have to cast both of your votes. So cumulative voting is definitely something that you have to educate the community about because it's definitely different from other elections in our area. Sally?
Okay, now we're going to talk about board member eligibility and qualifications that is running for school board. And there is another policy up in the corner, and that is a hyperlink to the qualifications that are listed here. So I won't read them all to you. I think the gist is that you have to be 18 years or older. You have to have been in the language is in the territory, so you would need to be in the district for at least 6 months immediately preceding the following date, and then it lists, it would be for the filing period of the place on the ballot. And then you also have to be a registered voter in that same district. So like I said, this slide has a lot of information, but the hyperlink up in the corner provides all of the details for you. Okay, and then next is resources for potential board members. So we want you to leave here tonight with lots of information that you can access once you get home. TASB is the Texas Association of School Boards. Their website is a fantastic resource for all things school board. Even as trustees, we use it to continue on in our knowledge as we go on being a trustee. But there's a lot of information for you even on the front end when you're considering running. So the hyperlinks here are becoming a board member, resources for candidates, There's an FAQ for school board candidates, and then there is a book called The Governance Core, and I brought my copy tonight, that really talks about what governance is and why governance is so important for school boards. It really helps to define that difference between those two boxes, the superintendent and the school board, and how you navigate staying in your lane. And so this is a great resource. And then I'm going to hand it right back over.
So we pulled the required trainings from the Texas Education Agency. So something important to know is when you become a school board member, you don't have to learn and know everything immediately, and there are lots of resources to help you understand your role. And one of those are some of the required trainings. So in the first column, we have the name of the training. The second column is if you're in your first year in office, what is required, and then subsequent years in office. So as a new trustee, there are some expectations to have some trainings completed within 90 to 120 days of being sworn into the office. So it's really important. You cannot, to receive credit, you can't do your trainings before you're sworn in. So if somebody were to be elected on election day, they still have to wait until they're sworn in to start doing trainings because they don't count. And we all know that counting matters because annually we're also required to report the number of hours that we have. So that includes a local district orientation, update to the Texas Education Code. We have team building that is a part of our annual requirements. And then there are various other trainings, such as evaluating the superintendent and student outcomes. So you can see some more of those here, including the Open Meetings Act and the Public Information Act, which are very critically important because we want to stay in compliance with the law. So like I mentioned, annually the board has to announce in public at a meeting whether individual members met their required hours or not, and if we exceeded our hours. So it is very important to the board that we exceed those hours. We work very hard at that. We annually go to a couple of conferences typically where we get our additional hours because while the state mandates some of the trainings you do, other of those are essentially electives where you get to choose based on what you personally want to grow in. And so we have those opportunities through conferences, and then TASB also offers several online courses. So lots of training to help you navigate and engage yourself in the board work, and it's really important, and I've found it very beneficial. So what to expect? We do our business in meetings, and so as I mentioned, the Open Meetings Act, so all of our work as a corporate body is done through a function of meetings. That's where decisions are made and votes are cast. So monthly, we have a regular monthly meeting. It's typically on the first Thursday of the month. You're always welcome to attend. We have a pre-meeting that starts at 6 o'clock, and that's where we receive updates from the superintendent and the cabinet on the things that are on the consent agenda. And then we have the regular monthly meeting following that at 7 o'clock. That's where we get to celebrate our community, bring students in, find out the great things that they're doing and the awards that they're winning, and really celebrate what an awesome community we have, followed by getting updates on programs and various initiatives that we have, updates on our goals and how we're progressing during the year. And then we have the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a mechanism the board uses to vote as a block for things that are kind of traditional regular business. Board members do receive the agenda in advance, along with all the documentation and paperwork behind that so that we can study that. We are able to ask questions in advance. We can also ask questions in the pre-meeting. And then anything on the consent agenda can be pulled for individual consideration. So there are lots of ways to ensure that we're knowledgeable going into that vote and we're able to make solid decisions for the district. We then, sometimes at our regular meetings, we go into executive or closed sessions. Executive and closed sessions are allowable by the state, typically our real estate, consultation with our attorney, or personnel matters, where we go into closed session, and that's the part of the board work that the public cannot see. Because of that official capacity under law, we're allowed to have a closed meeting for that. Sometimes we have closed meetings separate from our regular meeting. We also have work studies, which are typically about once a quarter, where we take a deep dive into topics and really work with our leadership team to better understand our initiatives and goals, or maybe something we're wanting to change about the district, and we're really studying before we make those decisions as a board to make sure we're really digging into that. And we're knowledgeable so that as we go out into the community, we can speak to it or connect them to the right resources within the district. but it really helps us have a deeper understanding of things. We also have various other meetings, the special meeting, emergency meetings that we call as needed. And then I mentioned the subcommittee meetings earlier where we all serve as an ex officio on at least one committee, and then we have those additional subcommittees as work comes about. Sometimes we decide we need a policy like the building naming policy, and we work together collaboratively, always in a meeting. We have lots of meetings. So additionally, outside of the meetings, we really value engagement in the community and events. Personally, I really enjoy going to our fine arts programming and going to see our students at events. Board members are also encouraged to visit campuses, but we have our board operating procedures which specify when we do go to a campus what the procedures are for that to ensure that we are not surprising anyone, because that's not our role. Our role is really to support. And so when we go into a campus, we might be asking a question about a program and wanting to better understand that so we can really get that hands-on to be able to speak more to the community about it. And then we spend time preparing for our meetings. So like I mentioned, all of our meetings we have all the paperwork and information behind the scenes. So we prepare for those meetings and really make sure that we are taking the time to make decisions on behalf of those who have elected us. Important dates, Sally?
All right. Okay, so here's the reason you're here. Important dates to know. There's a hyperlink for you up in the corner for all of this information on the district website. The first day to file for a place on the general election ballot was this past Wednesday, January 18th. So packets are available now in the superintendent's office during normal business hours. The last day to file for a place on the ballot will be Friday, February 17th at 5 p.m. So the packet needs to be turned in here in the administration building by 5 p.m. The last day to register to vote is Thursday, April 6th. The first day of early voting for this May election will be Monday, April 24th. The last day of early voting will be Tuesday, May 2nd, and then the Board of Trustee election, which is considered a municipal election, will be Saturday, May 6th, 2023. And that is our last slide. So at this time, we are open to questions if there are any questions.
No questions? Okay.
There has to be one question. Okay, well, I appreciate all of you taking time to come tonight. We were really excited to do this. This is the first time the district has done this as far as we know. And this is definitely the start of us offering this yearly, and we will allow other board members next year to take the reins. And we want to educate the community and make sure everyone's informed and has the information they need to make decisions. So thank you for being here tonight. And I will call the meeting to adjournment at 7:32 p.m.